Hey everybody, welcome to Lunchtime Live. I am Shannon J, the social media manager and live stream host for today's stream. And joining me is Dale Lavine from Ferguson Enterprises. He's the copywriter over there, and that's basically all I know. So Dale, if you want to talk a little bit more about what you do for Ferguson.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm the creative copywriter for Ferguson, so I handle the writing for a lot of different things and a lot of different businesses. So we really deal with trade professionals, skilled trades industry. So you think plumbing, fabrication, HVAC. We target a lot of those customers, and I write everything from ads, emails, product descriptions, social media copy. I mean, the list goes on and on. Scripts, you name it, I can write it, pretty much.
That's what's up. Yeah, I mostly just do social copy. I guess kind of what are the differences between, the different sectors of copy, and how do you sort of approach them differently?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because my template for copywriting is almost the same across every deliverable, in that in Word, when I open it up, it starts with a header, a subheader, body copy, and a call to action. Like, those are my four pillars throughout. The only way it changes really is when it's social copy and script writing. Script writing takes on a different form. And social is really what copy we're going to put in the post for a Facebook post, an Instagram post, and what are we going to put on the image itself. But by and large, the majority of my copywriting takes on those four pillars: the header, subheader, body copy, and call to action. The length of which varies depending on what we're using them for. If it's a flyer, it could be a little longer. If it's an email, it might be a little shorter. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess obviously, like, doing a lot of social posts, I guess the data behind text on images is always kind of conflicting. Like, I'm wondering kind of how you feel about like text on images, especially for like social posts and social ads. Because I know Facebook also, don't know the exact amount, but they do have like a restrictive text on images thing, which I actually read recently. I think they're lifting because of memes and stuff. So
Yeah.
you can start using memes in ads, and they're kind of recognizing that that's a really popular social post thing, which is interesting. But yeah, what's kind of your approach to like text on image for social?
I'm trying to convince the social media people at work that memes are the way to go, and we should just start posting those everywhere. I did read that they were lifting the, I think, 30%. Don't quote me on that, restriction for image copy. I like having image copy when it doesn't obstruct the rest of the design. Obviously, post copy should set the foundation, but really what people are looking for when they go on social, they want to see things. They don't really want to read things. So don't take up too much space. And that's really the first part of telling or crafting concise copy, and telling a really short story in as few characters as possible.
Cool. And I know, well, okay. What do you think the difference is between like bad copy and good copy?
That's a loaded question.
Lot to get into there.
There's a lot to unpack with good copy and bad copy, and I think bad copy kind of boils down to three keys. One is that bad copy doesn't appropriately or accurately represent the brand that you're writing for. You should always be writing in the tone, the persona, the voice of your brand. So for Ferguson, I might make a couple of toilet humor jokes on social every now and then, but I'm not going to do the same thing for a print ad because it doesn't translate. I think also bad copy kind of forsakes the audience intelligence. David Ogilvy said it best. The customer isn't a moron, right? It's your wife. So the audience isn't stupid. They know what they want to see, what they want to read, and what they want to buy. And you've got to kind of treat that audience with the same respect you would treat a member of your family. And I think bad writing in general is a hallmark of bad copywriting. You've got to have the structure and the mechanics down, various grammatical principles. And my copywriting professor for my master's program, he always said, know the rules before you break them.
I think that's really good advice. Is like, I mean, you know, with like any art form or something, like abstract artists, yeah, they, you know, put a bunch of blotches on a canvas, but they have to know how to like perfectly draw something before that happens. Like you have to understand the fundamentals before you can deviate from them. So I think that's a really good point. And I think you make a good point too. A lot of things I run into, sometimes clients are, you know, I'll put a social media post that's maybe a little, I guess edgy is a strong word, but you know, it's like lighthearted, it's a little funny, and you know, maybe they might not get it, but their audience will get it. So at least for social copy, I think my rule of thumbs are just like, try to make it as lighthearted and funny as possible. Like, of course you want to sell stuff, but don't make, and you know, have a couple sales posts like, here's some cool offers, here's our services, but you know, have a couple like lighthearted fun posts in there too. And I think the biggest thing with social copy is asking questions that people actually want to answer, so you can get that engagement, because that's going to get the viewership up in copy. And it kind of sucks when you ask a question then like nobody answers, but you know, it's the risk you got to take. Just and we did something on Ray's social where I tried to ask a couple questions that were like, you know, businessy related, but then it was just like, hey, you know, does pineapple go on pizza? And people were just in the comments like, you know, because people are very passionate about that topic. So kind of,
by the way,
I say no.
Stance on the matter is that pineapple doesn't go on pizza.
See, we're gonna fight after this. So. But even, you know, obviously like stick to the brand and the brand voice, but sometimes kind of deviate to show, you know, we're people too, and we can have a conversation outside of HVAC or toilets or, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah. And I think that goes into copywriting in general, is that these days you really want it to be conversational. Like you don't want it to come off jargony or robotic or super corporate. Like no one's going to interact with Wendy's Twitter if they're talking corporate speak. They interact with Wendy's Twitter because they're dissing everybody. They're burning everybody.
I think that's such a great example because they are really on the edge of like, this could not be good, but it's like so funny that, and especially Twitter too, like knowing your platform, Twitter is like a whole nother animal. Like you can just be savage up there and like tell all these meta jokes and everybody knows what you're talking about. Like that same kind of thing isn't going to work on Facebook, like where your grandma might take it the wrong way, or like, you know, the typical, like when you show your parent a meme, they're like, who is this? Like, I don't get it. Why is this funny? And it's like, it, you know, might work on Instagram. It's not, you know, just knowing your audience and knowing the platform. And I guess the last I have for social is just like, and I mean, pretty much any copy, put your main point, your call to action, like first thing. Like, or like if you're doing an image or an ad, like make that the most prominent part.
Right.
And it just be like that. So we do have a couple questions rolling in.
Cool.
So first off, we got Mohammed here over on LinkedIn. So what parameters should we consider when creating design for ads? So touched on it a little bit, but if you want to take that a little deeper.
Yeah. So I'll preface this with, I'm not a designer whatsoever. My manager likes to say, David, I see he's got a question coming up. I'm a word designer. But I will say when it comes to drafting copy for ads, whether it's print ads, full page, half page, quarter, whatever, or display ads, banner ads, be real clear. And luckily with print ads, you get a little more space to expand on what you want to say, and you can take on different formats. You can do a full page of text if you want. Bold move these days. You can do it. Display ads are a little different in that you have a limited amount of space and a finite amount of characters to really get your message across, and do so in an interesting way. And I'll use the thing I shared on LinkedIn recently, where I found an ad on Reddit and I recreated it. The ad I found was just full of kind of useless copy. It didn't make a lot of sense. The call to action was kind of buried at the bottom, and it wasn't very clear. But you could see that you were going to save 25% on your next booking for a safari. And the design wasn't that good in my opinion, so I transferred it over into Canva and created
I love Canva. Love Canva.
It's so good.
It's so good.
And I kept it to what the important part was. Save 25% on your next venture with this safari, right? And then the call to action button looks a little 90s, but that's Canva for you. And it was Get Wild. And luckily the business name was Wild Excursions and Safaris or something like that. So you get the nice pairing of the business name with the call to action button. But the important part is you're sending that message right up front, real clear. Save 25%. That's all you need to tell them. Like, that's going to sell me. It's going to sell anybody is, oh, I can save X amount on my next purchase. Yeah, let's go.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up now. Is it working? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, oh shoot, I'm trying to like zoom in. Technical difficulties. So yeah, I think you did a good job with this. Like, basically, you know, touching on a lot of what you said for that question. If you got a bunch of text, your main message is going to get lost here, which this is the most important part. And it's like, it's just lost in all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the website, you don't really need that up there because you could have it, especially with a social post. Think about how much you can put in the caption and take out of the image.
Exactly.
So you just really want, if you're doing an image with text, just keep your main point in there and, you know, don't get too fancy and just keep it simple. And that's pretty much the main thing I would say is take your idea and simplify it as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And that I shared it on LinkedIn also. I've been using it as a platform recently for just knowledge sharing. The standard across the board for copywriters you'll hear is the KISS method: keep it simple, stupid, or keep it stupid, simple, either one. And I agree with that. I also subscribe to a twist on it. It's still KISS, you just throw another S on there and you change up some of the words. So it's keep it succinct, stimulating, and shareable. And succinct doesn't always mean short. It just means, you know, telling your story in as many words as you need, but be clear about it. Stimulating, keep it interesting, keep it entertaining, but don't sacrifice information for entertainment. And shareable is just super important these days, especially with social. You want something that's going to be memorable and that people are going to want to share with their friends, whether it's a social post, hey, I saw this cool thing on Facebook, or it's the ad we just showed. Oh, I saw that we can save 25% on our next safari. I'm going to talk to my wife about that. Let's go on a safari.
Yeah. And I think what you touch on is really important about, it doesn't have to be short. Cause I mean, I do see a lot of posts being shared on Facebook where it's, you know, it's long, but it's telling a story and it's creating like a personal connection, you know, with the person that's telling it or sharing it. And I think we're kind of, I mean, obviously with some like Google display ads, you know, a Twitter caption, keep it short. But you know, I think with social, you can keep it long. My thing is on LinkedIn and Instagram, especially, just you want to do like one line at a time kind of thing. And as I said, make that first line like your most engaging, like ask the question, like get to your audience's pain points in that first sentence, and then they'll click see more. So
Yeah.
it's okay if it's long, but if it's in an image, yeah, try to keep it short and think about the caption. So that'd probably be my main questions for Mohammed. And Nick didn't really ask a question, but he touched on a little bit what we were talking about earlier. Know the rules before you break them, cardinal rule in music composition. And really, I think any, art form, I mean, copywriting is an art form, okay?
True.
Social media is an art form. Let's not get it twisted. But, like I said, with abstract art, with, anything, just you gotta know the essentials and the traditions and the history and use that context to kind of reinvent it and break it. So I think that's another perspective from musical. So let's hit David's question. How much should creative roles rely on subject matter experts? Kind of touching on what I just said, you got to have the groundwork to build up from that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
So George Tannenbaum is the former executive creative director for Ogilvy. He worked on IBM campaigns. He's got a great blog, Ad Aged, that I read every morning. And he was on a podcast recently with another agency, and he made a good point about knowing what you're writing about and the time it takes to know what you're writing about. He was talking about a boiler system that he had just gotten, or that he wanted to know more about. Basically, what he was saying was, I need time as an ad man to get to know the product. And I'm not going to get to know the product through a list of bullets, of features and benefits. I'm going to get to know the product through people that use it every day, customers that have had it for years, and know how it works best, where it kind of fails. You got to talk to the pros who use the things every day, to really understand the real pain points and the real features and benefits of it, other than a manufacturer's pre-programmed list of bullets. That isn't to say that bullets don't belong in marketing or copywriting. I just think sometimes you can tell a better story or better explain something through someone's experience. So to that end, creatives should rely on subject matter experts to a pretty great degree. And that sometimes involves interviewing people who work in the field. That involves people, sales associates who go door to door, business to business, to sell things, or people that buy those things.
Yeah, definitely. It's because when you're selling something, you're of course selling the product, but you're selling the experience behind the product. So I definitely think understanding that is super essential to, selling stuff. Because
and that's really, that's the point of copywriting.
Yeah,
is selling stuff.
Yes.
I mean, you can tell whatever story you want to tell, and you can take as much time or use as many words to tell that story. But the purpose of marketing and copywriting and advertising is to sell a product, a service, or an experience.
Definitely. Let's see what else we got in the comments. It doesn't look like a lot of questions, but all right. So 2-1, I'm fighting you and Derek because no, it does not. Let's see. Yes, a word designer, Christopher, representing for the word designers. So I like what you said about the ad can be a full page, because especially nowadays, I just think about the the old ads in Time magazine and stuff, and it would have the image and then the main copy and then just a whole story about that product. And we kind of gravitated away from that recently. Obviously, attention spans are significantly shorter, but it's almost going back to that will grab somebody's attention if they just see a full page of copy. And I think the ad, I forget who bought it. I think the New York Times ad with the Donald Trump, and it was the full page.
Oh yeah.
So it's just that will capture your attention, because it's you're not used to seeing that much text. And I think that's a interesting thing to consider if you're a print ad designer, and kind of going back to basics a little bit there.
And I think there was an ad that I shared with my team recently, and it was this really cool automotive ad for some brand in Europe. And it's for an electric car, and it was just the car and then a lightning bolt over the car, your typical kind of cartoony looking lightning bolt. But that lightning bolt was composed of copy. It was a whole story about like how you start your morning and you're taking the kids to work, or you're taking the kids to school, and then you go to work, you got to go to the grocery store, and then you're going to see grandma, and you're doing all these things through your day. And then in that story, it was tying in basically how an electric car can handle that kind of use throughout the day. So by the time you get home, like you leave with a full charge, by the time you get home, you still have 230 miles left before you have to charge again. So it was basically saying you can do all of these things and not worry about having to fill up on gas, and it was a really creative, neat way to blend design and copy.
I think, and that's a great example, because I think it touches on basically everything we talked about. It sells an experience. It listens to, the person that's going to buy that, like what is their experience with this product going to be, and how can we relay that? It's got the emotional connection. It's got the text, and I think it takes the text to another level where at first if you can do this, it's like great. If you don't notice it's text at first and then you notice it, that'll do a little double take. And if you could do that, that's like really, really good. So we do have a couple more questions here. So let's see, we got this one from Will Clark. Has COVID changed your approach with digital copy? I would say for me personally, at the very beginning, uncertain times was like sprinkled that in. And then after like a week or two, I was like, I can't do this in captions anymore, because it's like everywhere. So that's one thing it changed. And for me, kind of thinking about my clients, like for example, one of our clients is a indoor kids playground. And I was like, obviously, they can't really do that right now. So thinking about their audience that they have now and being like, okay, think about, ideas for disinfecting kids' toys, like things to do at home with your kids, local live streams that'll do like, reading time or like kids activities or stuff like that, and tagging them to hopefully get that cross engagement. So just kind of thinking about, experience and I think COVID's been a really interesting time for businesses, because it went from like selling your product to like kind of, I guess, for lack of a better word, like comforting your existing audience, and like being like, I'm here for you. Even I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just like, I care about you as a customer. Here's ways that we can help.
Yeah. I guess to that end, I don't know for me that COVID really changed the approach with copy, particularly digital copy. I think it changed the tone. Like you said, I mean, when we started with this whole pandemic, it was uncertain times, extraordinary times, unprecedented. You hear it so often. And there was a video that someone made that took every commercial they had seen that used unprecedented, all those words, and it was just showing how repetitive the industry was throughout everything. And people, you can tell, got tired of it. It's not unprecedented anymore. We're in the middle of it. We're dealing with it. But you get tired of hearing that. And again, to your point, our copy took on a less salesy tone and more of a solutions oriented tone. So it's less, how can I sell you this product, and more, what can this product do to help protect you, your employees, your customers, your family? And then what are we doing to help protect our associates, our customers, their families? And sometimes it's as simple as putting a flyer up on the door of a showroom and saying, we're not allowing kids in right now because they're a risk. we're making everybody wear masks because it's a risk. And I think copy should always have that empathetic tone. It should always be empathetic. I think with COVID, it just became more empathetic.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's a great answer to that question.
Yeah.
So we got one from Sean Burke here. Which do you consider to be the most important online, images or text or video? Say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I tend to lead the images and video to tell a story. So I feel like we've kind of touched on ways you can combine all those. Video is interesting. Obviously, like at Array, we obviously do this every week. We put out a lot of video. I'll watch videos. I do like videos, especially if they have the captions, because I never have sound on my phone. I stay on do not disturb as often as possible, and silent. It drives my boyfriend nuts. But yeah, if you're doing a video, make sure it's captioned. Make sure it's under a minute on most platforms. It can be a little longer if there's a reason behind it being long. But make sure you capture. If you're doing a video, make sure you capture the audience in the first 15 to 30 seconds, or else they're just gonna scroll right by. So
swipe up.
I would say they all have their place in the advertising sphere.
Yeah, I think especially with social media, it leans more toward imagery, but there are ways to combine both and take advantage of both, and do so well. I know video is a big thing these days, but the secret is that even video requires copy. Someone's got to write the script. So there are layers to everything.
Definitely. So I think David's question, I think is a good one to end on as we're as we're approaching 30 minutes here. What place does art and creativity have in a business, data and science focused marketing environment? I think it's essential, to converting all that data and science and business ideas into something that's actually sellable, that customers want to buy, that people want to experience. Me personally, there's this great Ai Weiwei quote. It's like, art is life, life is art. I never separate the two. So that's kind of just how I view everything.
Yeah. Claude Hopkins and David Ogilvy were very research, data-driven marketing people. And I do think that there is a place for data and science in marketing and advertising and creativity. I don't subscribe to the idea that data should drive marketing. I think it's a tool to help marketing. I think it's a tool to help creativity and kind of craft your message or your image. But there's a place in the world for both, and I don't know that one is entirely dependent on the other. They're beneficial to each other. It's a relationship, right? It's symbiotic. It's interesting because we had this conversation at work recently, so I know why David asked this question. And without taking too much more time, I think even creativity is a science, right? And I think there needs to be that level of respect between both fields, so as to not. Trying to find the right word. See, this is part of copywriting.
It's happening right now.
Right now, live. I'll just say that I think creativity is a science, and the two can coexist.
I totally agree. Yeah, and that's the thing is, it's not, creativity isn't just cleverness. It's it's concise. It's taking an idea and I guess there's also aspects to creativity. There's the idea, and then there's actually the execution.
Right.
So if you can do both, you're crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a pretty good wrap up of copy and a lot of good insight there. I know there was I wanted to ask you about your copywriting books. I know you're reading a lot of copywriting books, so maybe we can just post some links to those in the comments and people can check those out because reading is fundamental in the famous words of RuPaul. So I know you're also a Drag Race fan. So, yes. So I guess, we'll end the stream if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? Could I get an amen up in here?
Amen. Amen.
Amen. So great to talk to you again, Dale. I'll see you at the, around town whenever that's a thing again.
Sounds good. I appreciate you having me.
All right. Thanks so much, man. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.